All right, welcome you guys. Let's take a look at number 4. It's kind of tricky because of all those negatives, okay? All right, so we want to substitute 2 in for the x and -4 for the y. So what's important is that when you're substituting in, you've got to use parentheses. So when I put this 2 in right here, I've got to make sure that I go negative and then parentheses wherever the x was. Okay, it's super duper important, especially if you're using your calculator, okay? And then minus, again, parentheses where the y was, and we're going to substitute this -4 in for the y, okay? Now let me talk about why it's so important, these parentheses, okay? So just really quickly, if you have -2 in parentheses squared versus -2 squared, okay? These are actually totally different answers. Here on this first example, you're squaring all of it. That's why you used parentheses. You're letting people know, hey, everything inside is going to get the 2, is going to get squared. So this means -2 times -2, and a negative times a negative is a positive. Because on this second example, the negative sign is not in parentheses, the only thing that's going to get the 2, the exponent of a 2, is the closest thing, the 2 only. So what this one means is negative, and it's just the 2 times the 2 that you're going to do. So wrapping those parentheses around the negative sign mean, hey, square the negative also. So if we go over to this problem right here, on this first one, only the 2 is going to be squared, not the parentheses. So 2 times 2 is 4. Now over here on this one, the negative right here is going to be squared. So we have to think about what -4 times -4 is. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive 16. So that's what we're going to put right here. Note that this negative sign is just that one, the minus sign, right? Okay. So the answer to just this portion is positive 16. And that's why we keep this negative. Okay. So -4 take away 16 is -20. All right, so does it match the right-hand side? It does. So we're going to say, yes, it's a solution. It's a solution. Okay. Now we're going to try this whole thing all over again, but this time we're going to try it with the second ordered pair that they gave us. So this one right here. All right, so same thing, negative x squared. I'm just going to write it right here again, just to make sure. Super duper clear, okay. All right, so we're substituting 4 in for the x. So negative parentheses 4 squared minus, and then for the y, we're substituting in -2. And we want to know, does this equal -20, okay? All right, so remember that this means only the 4 is getting squared. So we have to do 4 times 4, which is 16. On this piece right here, it's -2 times -2. So -2 times -2 will be a positive 4 because a negative times a negative equals a positive. All right, and so we want to know, does this equal -20? And indeed, it does. So it looks like both of these are going to be yeses. So let's go back to our problem right here. We're going to say yes for this one. And we're going to say yes for this one also. So the trickiness on that problem really was all these negatives that we're dealing with and making sure that we treat them correctly. Now, as long as you use parentheses when you substitute in, you can just have your calculator do all this for you. So if I go to my calculator, let me see where it is. There it is. I can put these in. So let's say that we wanted to put in the first one. Okay, let me put it over here and then get my calculator again. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to type this in just how it is. That's why it's important to remember those parentheses. And then just hit equals, and you can get the answer from our calculator. This is for the people that just are terrible at their positives and negatives. So as long as you're remembering the parentheses, hey, you got your calculator to help you out. All right, guys, hopefully this helps you with number 4, which is a pretty tough problem because of those negatives.